What's up, Pickleheads? Welcome to another week of Picklehead Podcast. We're super excited this week. We have Stefan Auvergne, who's had some really good success recently on the APP Tour. Fun to watch at MLP. We want to introduce him to everyone. And we do want to pick your brain a little bit. In our words, we like to say, tickle your picklehead. It makes some people uncomfortable, but we'd love to hear and learn from you. But first off, will you tell us where you're from, what made you come to the U.S., and how you found pickleball originally?
Okay. So first off, thanks for having me. Let's see. Grew up in France and then moved to the U.S. For college to play tennis in college. That was the plan originally. I ended up transferring to a different school and not playing tennis after all. But that was the initial plan. And my family wanted to move back as well. My mom was American. My dad was French. And that was kind of their goal as well. And then let's see how I discovered pickleball. So I happened to move to Austin just for fun, essentially. I was working remotely with Fitbod, which is the company I'm still working with at the moment, but in a different position. And I picked Austin just because it was warm, not too far from the family, which they're in North Carolina now. And then I just thought there was a fitness vibe to the city that I enjoyed. And then they also had the racetrack where they do the F1, which is actually coming up. And that was kind of a new hobby of mine. So that's how I ended up in Austin. And then got into CrossFit. And one day at my CrossFit gym, somebody was playing pickleball for the first time in the parking lot. Never heard of it, of the sport, never saw it, nothing. So I was kind of mind blown. And so initially I thought it was like a kid's game or something you'd play at the beach or maybe a new kind of fun family game, just nothing major. But I thought it was a great way to kind of meet people since I was new to Austin, which it was. And then after 2 weeks, I was hooked, kind of did a little Google search and found out that it was actually a real thing. Stumbled on a Zane Navratil singles match, and I was like, oh my God, I got to get into this. And then, that's kind of how it happened. Started taking it pretty seriously. Like soon after that, signed up for first tournament, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and I think your background is really interesting. So I first heard about you. It was on a different podcast. This was a couple of years ago. But I remember you saying that you raced cars for a little bit, which was really cool. Came here to play tennis, like you said. Didn't actually end up playing tennis. How much tennis experience did you have before you came here? Like through high school?
Yeah, even before that. I would say I was a very good kind of junior tennis with a lot of hopes and dreams, but then got burned out pretty early on. I would say maybe around like 14, 15 years old, I was already kind of over it. Then kind of stuck with it. And obviously my parents wanted me to keep playing so I could try to play tennis in college. So that's essentially what I did. But then at 18, once I moved over to the US, transferred to school, I never touched the racket for the next 10 plus years before kind of discovering pickleball. So I had a good foundation of tennis skills, but just never pursued it further after college.
Sure, and some things you don't forget, especially muscle memory too.
Yeah,
I'm sure it helped.
It's actually funny because when I picked up pickleball, I had everything was just like I was playing like a day ago, or I didn't lose anything except the backhand. I could not do a two-handed backhand, so only had to relearn. Everything else was just right there, as it never left. Everything was dialed in. It was perfect. But
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, my backhand's still a struggle, and I use it all the time. Do I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember hearing something about playing video games for a living just for a little while.
Yes, that is true.
Wow.
And so this was 2016. So this started in France, where I kind of won a national championship on Call of Duty 2. So this is a long time ago.
Sick.
That started a whole... that from 2016 to maybe 2006 to the next 4 to 6 years, I was taking it pretty seriously and traveling quite a bit to tournaments, and started making some money doing it, and
Wow.
like it got pretty serious for the next like 4 to 6 years. That was also kind of a motivation for me to come to the US. Is it was the gaming scene was a lot bigger in the United States, so I continued for a little bit once I moved here, and then it kind of fizzled out, and I got into other things, and yeah, that's essentially what happened.
Yeah, it's an awesome background. It's a really
that's
cool story.
interesting.
Talk to us just real briefly. I know we want to talk about pickleball, but real briefly about racing cars, because I know nothing about cars, but it was interesting listening to that side of it
So
too.
that essentially came about after I retired the gaming career. I figured I wanted to do kind of something unique and have a new kind of hobby, because I was missing some competition, because this was obviously way before pickleball. And then I figured, oh, well, I'll do something fun and buy an exciting car kind of from the gaming earnings, and then have that be a new hobby where I could go race and make it kind of a fun adrenaline filled adventure, I guess, or something like that. And that's really what happened. And I really enjoyed it. Did autocross for a little bit, and then once I got to Austin, I was able to use kind of the bigger circuit and just through different instructors learn how to push a car a little bit, and it was a lot of fun.
Fun, very fun. Yeah, that sounds fun. Something that I don't think I would ever be good at, but it does sound pretty fun to do and expensive.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
it's not cheap. Let's put it that way.
I mean, as far as costs go, you have pickleball way down here, and then racing
Well,
cars is probably
I don't do that too often because of the cost. So at least with pickleball, you could do it a lot.
right. Yeah, for sure. So what made you want to continue to play pickleball? Like the first people that you play, like, man, I'm kind of good at this, or were you like, oh, I got some stuff to work on? What made you want to like pursue and like play at a higher level?
Good question. So I think I've always been kind of a competition junkie. I could say, like, I just loved competition, loved the grind of putting in the hours into something and trying to like excel at it, and fine tune every little, or gain like every small little percentage you can on every shot to like get like 1% better than like the rest, or things like that. And I think early on, based on kind of my skill set at the time, I did feel like there was a pretty good opportunity to do something in the sport. And then once I kind of had that talk with myself, I decided, okay, let's take this seriously and see if we could actually make it happen. And that's how it started.
When did you
Love it.
start?
I mean,
What
I
year?
think it's an addiction for everybody. Go ahead, Austin.
So early 2021 is like the first time I've ever heard of the sport.
Okay, I think I watched one of your very first matches. Maybe I'm wrong though, but you were playing with Brandon Singpong. Is that
Yep.
one of the first one?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, you
he
guys
was
were
one of my first. Yeah.
so you guys were together, and then I've heard his voice on MLP broadcasts, but I haven't seen him play at all. So he's totally retired and he's doing that side of things, right?
No, he's so he has been commentating for MLP, which he's a great commentator, and then he has also been playing. I do occasionally practice with him in Austin, and he also just had a baby as well, so he had that took him out of the game for a little bit, where he couldn't travel to tournament as much, but he's still playing and he's starting to do more tournaments. So I think you definitely be on the lookout for Brandon.
Okay, have you guys played in any tournaments together lately?
So early on, we played quite a bit. Recently, no,
Right.
since I kind of booked with other partners since then. But we did play a few together early on.
Okay, yeah. I remember seeing you guys. You guys had a super, super good win. This was probably beginning of 2022. I don't even remember who it was against, but I remember it was a good
Boca
win.
Raton.
Yeah,
that
it was
the
probably
Florida one?
Boca. Yeah.
That was my coming out weekend.
Yeah, that was probably the very first tournament that I saw you in. And I was like, yeah, these guys got game. And I felt like you guys were a really good match with a lefty righty combo. And it just sounded like you guys were working your butts off, training and stuff like that. So I want to hear a little bit about your training routine. You said that you're super competitive. You always want to get 1% better. What's your training routine right now, and who are you training with?
So I'm really fortunate that in Austin, I mean, we have tons of top pros. I mean, it'll take me 5 minutes to list everyone, but
Yeah.
Zane, Julian, Beckel, DJ, the Johnson twins are not too far from Austin. Thomas, tons of great 5-0s that are now playing pro. Lena, Vivian, Leia's also here. I mean, just there's Lauren's here. There's
Right.
tons of great players, and I'm missing several. But so I would say kind of rotate between those players. There's a couple that live downtown where I'm at, so I'll probably play with them slightly more often, just because it's kind of more convenient. But really, them and there's again tons of other great like 5-0 players that are in Austin, and so I'll gladly practice with them as well. Yeah.
Anybody that's on your MLP team that's around there?
Yeah, of course. So John is here as well. So play with him quite a bit. Let's see, and yeah, John's the only one that's like in Austin as well. He recently moved in Austin as well. So I get advantage of that and play with him quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And for those that aren't super familiar with the pro scene, he's referring to Johnson Cola, who you've had some really good success recently on APP Tour with Johnson Cola. I think it was APP Chicago. You guys got gold in men's dubs. And then with Brendan, I believe you guys got bronze in Atlanta. Yep. And then this most recent one, APP Dallas, you played with De La Rosa, which I thought was a really cool combo. I actually thought you guys had it. I'm not sure what happened there, but silver is awesome.
Yeah.
But you guys played. I mean, that's a big time team. I have one question for you, and this might be kind of controversial. So on his podcast recently, Nunnery said that he thinks that he and Daescu can compete against the highest level of pickleball in the PPA as well. I want to see what your thoughts are on that, as far as them compared to, say it's maybe JW and Dylan, or say it is the Johns brothers. I mean, how do you think? He was really confident in saying that, but what do you think?
I mean, I think for starters, there are a lot of great teams on the PPA side. I do think Rob and Andre are a great team. I think they have been getting better together as well. So, I mean, I definitely think they would be competitive. Now, they would probably still be the underdog compared to the Johns or, JW and Dylan for sure. But I think they have a fighting chance. I think they had a good win in Beer City. I think you mentioned that over Federico and Pablo, which is also another great team. So yeah, I think they have a shot, and I do think they would be a competitive team.
Os, what do you think? We watched Fed and Pablo play this weekend in person. Yeah, they're a dynamite team lately. I kind of want to see what Austin thinks about that team. I know that Austin isn't super high on Daescu, but I'm going to put him on the spot here and see what he thinks as far as a Daescu and Nunnery combo against some of the top guys in PPA.
Yeah, I don't know where you heard that from. I don't think I've ever said anything about Daescu. I don't know. I just haven't talked about him much, but I think I like him. He was with Selkirk, and then he moved to – I want to hear the story. I'm not really sure what happened, but he played with the Viking paddle for like a month. He must have had a huge contract with them, and then it just didn't work out because he must have got a bigger contract from Proton or something like that. But that is another subject.
That was.
Have you heard anything about that? Obviously, you know.
I mean, I just see him use a different colorful paddle every time, but that's about it. I don't know the behind the scene of everything he's doing.
I think Rob's a great player too.
All right.
I remember before the whole shenanigans with Ben and Rob, when they were playing together, they were winning titles together. So I think Rob's a great player too. I think that they would stand a fighting chance, but just not against the top three.
Yeah, I mean, top three is tough for sure, but again, they would be underdogs. But is there a chance they could pull out a win? I think so.
For sure.
On a good day. Yeah. Rob, I always thought he was a great player. I kind of knew him early on back in those days as well. And yeah, I always thought he was a good player.
A team that would win, though, would be Stefan with Andre. That's all I can say.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't
doesn't matter if it's the Johns Bros. Nothing, dude. You guys got it. You got that lefty forehand in the middle. Ben really struggles with lefties.
I'm a big believer of the lefty-righty combo.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, it's cool. Unfortunately, not all of us can be left-handed, but yeah, it's a definite weapon. Like, because if you think about it, I mean, it makes complete sense if you and Andre were to play together, or I mean, you're someone else. You're having success with everyone that you're playing with. You know, it's like, I don't think any one of those three that you've played with have had the success that you've had on the APP when they're not playing with you. So I've seen a definite spike in your game, and I would say for the last year and a half, but even more recently in the last 6 months. What would you attribute that to, Stefan? Like, are you putting in more work on the side? Like, what would you attribute your most recent success to?
Yeah, good question. So I definitely have been putting a lot of work. I think nothing changed like recently with what I've been doing. I've always kind of been putting in the work, and I think a few things clicked recently. I know I gained a lot of confidence with like the one-handed backhand out of the air, and like the flick, I guess we call it. So like that helped me a lot, and I kind of used that quite a bit in some of the matches we won recently. And then just I think some more experience that's always good, and then just continuing to work on other stuff. So trying to stay up to date with the competition, because I know everybody's getting better as well. I could feel that. So that's kind of motivating me to keep putting in the hours, for sure.
And I think that can be a good lesson learned for anyone that's watching or that's listening. I think lots of times, and I've felt this way too, I'll be at a standstill with my progress. Feel like you're putting in the work, feel like you're playing often, you're also drilling, blah, 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 but you're kind of like not progressing. And then you use the words, it will click. Like, and then every once in a while you figure, oh, I just figured something out, you know, and you take that extra step. So I think you got to, like you're saying, keep putting in consistent work. And I think it is finally clicking for you.
To be honest, it's not like a linear progression. Like there's going to be like ups and downs along the way. So I think overall you just want to take a step back and kind of look at the trend. And is the trend going in the right direction? Yes or no? That's the bigger question, as opposed to like, you know, if you don't do well in one of your most recent tournaments, it doesn't mean things are going bad or falling apart. It might mean, okay, this was one bad little tournament, happens to everyone. You can't be 100% every day. But then if the two before that and the next one after that are pretty good, then okay, maybe that's actually a good sign, right? And it might mean you're doing something right, and you should keep doing that, and you might continue to progress.
So what is that something? What is your training routine? I asked this before, and then we got talking about pros, and then I forgot to bring it back.
So I would say at this point, since I still kind of consider myself relatively new to the game, I do try to spend a good amount of time on the court still. So that just means every day being on the court, 2.5 hours. I'd say at minimum, obviously taking rest days when you need them, but just being on the court, whether it's drilling or rec play. And again, like I am lucky that I get really, really high quality rec play here, which is like a huge advantage. And I realize that. So I try to take advantage of it. And then I enjoy spending time in the gym, and usually I'm in the gym, I'm doing things that aren't related to pickleball, where it's like more upper body workouts and trying to stay balanced and, just overall fitness, I would say, more than focusing on like pickleball stuff. But then I guess another thing I will add is being very kind of mindful of where your game's at and recognizing your weaknesses and strengths, but especially your weaknesses, and then adjusting obviously your training based on those weaknesses. So for example, if I feel like there's something that's kind of lagging behind, then I'll change my training to focus on that and kind of bring up to speed so that it's no longer a kind of pain point in my game. And then it's essentially rinse and repeat that exact same formula to where you just keep doing it over and over until, you know, you're as well-rounded as you can. And then obviously you want to maximize your strengths on top of that.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, really cool. So it's a balance of rec play and drilling. There's not necessarily a specific, you're just doing drilling or you're doing like an 80-20. It's a pretty good mixture.
Yeah, I've never, so in general, I'm not super like, oh, I have to do this amount of drilling or this amount of rec play. It's more, you know, who's available, who wants to play. And then we said, if a couple players don't show up, then I'll happily drill instead. Again, that can change if I recognize, okay, there's a weakness here that needs to be addressed. At that point, I will change the split and maybe increase the amount of drilling or the amount of rec based on what I think is the best solution to fix it. But otherwise, cool. It's pretty whoever's available, and just I'm also trying to have fun in the process. So you know, I can't say no to a good rec game.
100%. I feel the same way. You also said that you work out obviously your upper body and lower body, stuff like that. Do you work out a big topic lately has been wrist strength. And you said that you have developed more of a backhand flick lately. It's become better. Are you working out your wrists somehow or your forearms? What does that look like?
So I am not, but again, because I feel like my forearms and wrists have been fairly strong. I've used them a lot in like my prior life where I was doing CrossFit all the time and working out in the gym and all that. So I feel like they have a good foundation to where I don't need to spend so much time on them. So yeah, that hasn't been an issue with pickleball so far.
Yeah, that's really good because I come from a tennis background as well. I only played in high school, but obviously a tennis racket's way heavier. And so coming from tennis into pickleball, the pickleball paddle felt as light as a feather. But then like as time went on, I slowly just like lost that muscle there. And then it's like my counters started becoming worse because my backhand counters in particular started becoming worse because just that strength wasn't there. So as of the last actually month and a half, I've been doing like forearm workouts and stuff, mainly on my right hand. Probably not the best for body development, but it's been helping like a ton and just having that strength up there. So that's really cool that you already have that and you've already had that foundation. I think that that's something that everybody needs is a fitness routine, be able to help, especially at the pro level. Yeah.
Do you add weight to your paddle or not?
I do, yeah. I put some lead in the throat. I like it there. Just feels bigger sweet spot for me.
Because I guess I say that being like I'm probably one of the fewer ones that puts no weight on the paddle.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, what paddle do you use right now? Because you're a Selkirk guy, right?
O2. Yeah.
O2. Okay. I've never tried that one.
Yeah, I mean, I see that the Power Air. That's probably similar to the one you have right now.
I'm actually using the new one, the Jack Sock one. It's like super thick.
Yeah.
Because my control's not where it should be, you know. So it's helpful.
Yeah.
Using it, so
it works. I haven't tried that one yet, but it's in the mail, I think. So soon.
Oh, sweet. What color did you get? Or do you know?
Gold.
Nice.
I asked for gold. I don't know if that's what's coming, but that's what I asked for.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I got. That's what I asked for. So I like it though. Nice. I think you'll like it. It's definitely thick though. It's more of a control paddle.
Yeah. Rob's been using that one. Rob Nunnery.
Yeah, he used the blue one in the last tournament and did exceptionally well with it. So
yeah. He said he likes it. So I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah. I'm excited to see you try it out.
Hey, let's switch gears here for just a second, Stefan. What's one thing you can teach us, and specifically the viewers, about the ERNE? Maybe something that we don't already know, or maybe something you can add to the foundation of a good ERNE, because I think you're up there as one of the top that can put away that ERNE. I don't know if you remember, I actually posted a video about you, I'm just remembering now, a couple of months back, where your ERNE was just like so hard, even the commentators were just like, what just happened right there? So I don't know, maybe something you can share with us about the ERNE.
I mean, I think obviously I'm a big believer in the ERNE. You know, it's a team kind of effort in that, sometimes you'll go for ERNEs that you won't hit, and then your partner has to be ready to cover you when you do that. So I think that's kind of the foundational is like, okay, if your partner's going to ERNE quite a bit, you have to look for it, be ready for it, and then step over and cover that. I think I identified a couple situations where you almost have to ERNE in that as soon as you see somebody that's the opponent across from you, if you see him out of position on a dink, or you see him reaching a little bit too much, or you see him struggling to get a dink, that to me is an automatic ERNE. Just no questions asked, you jump out. Just because the odds of him not getting the ball back, like perfectly diagonally back, is going to be increased. Therefore, you might be able to reach that ball when you jump out for the ERNE. And if he's struggling, the best he could do is, okay, he does get the ball back diagonally. Your teammate should be right there in a good position to cover you. So that's a no-brainer. But obviously, there's a different type of ERNE where you maybe dink down the line, and then you're jumping out right before they hit the shot. So you almost want to go as soon as they commit to a shot, and you're hoping they commit to a dink down the line. As soon as they commit and as soon as they're about to hit the shot, you jump out. So then you're kind of guessing what their next shot is. But there's ways to kind of increase the probability and go at a better time. And so that's another time to do it. And then again, your partner will have to cover you there. But I say those are, and then obviously, and I would say the third category is on drops. A lot of players will still miss a drop that's like down the line. They'll let it bounce and step back, but they could actually jump out and hit an ERNE on a drop as well. And again, obviously, you do have to have a good amount of confidence that you're going to have some power in the ERNE, because you're then exposing the court, leaving the court open. If you're hitting an ERNE, if you're hitting the ball with an ERNE on a drop, and both of the opponents are in the back of the court, and if you don't hit a really kind of aggressive ball, they have a wide open court to work with, right, since you're outside of the court. So I think those are like kind of the three major, I'll call them like ERNE categories, where different type of ERNEs.
No, I haven't had it explained that way before. And then as you were explaining it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I mean, you can put them into categories. Biggest for me is timing. And I would say my biggest problem with the ERNE is going for it a little too much. Like you said, you got to have someone that's there covering for you. I think I still do this sometimes, but I've really worked on not going too much for ERNE, because then it's just leaving the entire court open and it's becoming a little more predictable, But those scenarios that you laid out, So
another little pointers that I think make all the difference is, number one, if the ball bounces high on their side of the court, that means the odds of them driving are much higher. Therefore, you should probably not ERNE as much, because one of the counters to an ERNE is kind of driving the ball right down the middle that's open when you're outside of the court. So if the ball on the other side of the net bounces a little high with like a dink, you'd probably never want to ERNE that, or rarely ERNE that. The other thing is you ideally want to ERNE with a forehand all the time and hit the ball from low to high in their feet. You don't want to hit and that comes with timing. Like if you try ERNE with your backhand, you're usually hitting the ball from low to high, which is not what you want. You don't want the ball going up when you're ERNEing. You want the ball going down. So you want to time it right to where you make contact with the ball and it could go in a downward motion, passing the net, right? So in their feet, essentially. So those are kind of two big ones as well.
Killed it. Awesome. Anything else on
those are some gems. I just want to make sure everybody's listening. So just to review really quick, make sure that I know them all too. But whenever your opponent is dinking and they're in a bit of a stressful situation, kind of reaching for the ball, jump, might as well. And chances are they'll pop it up to you. Also on the drop, when people drop way out wide, one of my favorite plays is when I return the ball and then I'm just running forward in my motion and they drop out wide and I can put an ERNE away. That's my favorite. Hitting down on the ball. And then I really like the one that you mentioned. If you hit a ball slightly high to your opponents, don't even consider ERNEing, because you're just leaving the court open and it's invite them to hit a drive. So it's just not the best opportunity. There was one more that you said, and I can't remember. Just to make sure everybody knows.
Was it like try to go with a forehand, and at the last second you want to cancel with the backhand if you have to, but ideally you always want to try to hit a forehand because you have a much more reach and more options to hit the ball with.
Right. And hitting the ball down, I had one more follow-up question. Hitting the ball down to the opponent directly in front of you or the opponent who is across from you, if that makes sense. If you're on the even side, are you hitting to the even? So
it's usually much easier to hit straight ahead. So if you have a shot where you could just hit down in your opponent's feet, right straight ahead of you, since the distance is so short, it's usually a winner every time. Or like there's rarely a situation where they'll get that back. And even if they do, odds are it's not going to be a good ball, and your partner is going to be able to crush the next one. Especially when there's a forehand there waiting for the follow up. Hence the righty lefty combo.
It's money.
Yeah.
That was really insightful. Thank you for that. I know that everybody listening is mind blown right now. So that was good stuff.
Yeah, I to be honest, I do think the game is not using the ERNE nearly as much as I think we will see it be used in like the next several years in pickleball.
Really? Something interesting is people that learn the ERNE for the first time, all of a sudden they just become an ERNE bot, right? So they start earning everything. And so back to these points, I think it's super important to follow exactly what you said. Don't just ERNE everything at every opportunity. ERNE in these situations when you see your opponent's back, stuff like that.
Yeah, probably do it because it's addicting. They probably they hit one and they want to hit more. I'm obviously guilty of it. And I think I also at times go for a bad ERNE, right, or something like that. So you definitely want, maybe when you're starting out, you want to go for a little bit more just to collect the data of what's a good time, what's a bad time. So just collect data as much as you can, and then once you have a good amount of data and you feel more comfortable with it, then you kind of dial it in and try to make better choices as when to go to just increase your percentages of winners, essentially.
One more follow-up question, then I'll turn it back to Spencer. What's your favorite kind of ERNE? So out of these three options, one where you see your opponent's back and they pop it up the line, one where you're dinking cross court with someone and they pop it high enough so you jump the kitchen, or when it's an ERNE drop, just they hit it slightly out wide.
Probably ERNE drop. I will say that the cross court ERNE is probably the tougher one, and that's probably, I would say, even a different type of ERNE. So that's like the fourth type of ERNE, is the ERNE where they're hitting the ball diagonally to you and you're trying to catch it if it's a little high. But that one's difficult. The reason why that's the hardest one, because your partner can't cover you on that one because the ball is moving away from them. So if you can't hit it or miss it, you have to recover yourself, essentially. You're going to have to land and try to hit the ball because your partner can't reach that one. So that one's by far the hardest one.
Yeah, it's probably not the smartest, but definitely in a certain situation, it feels good getting those ones.
Yeah, 100%.
One more pickleball related topic. Put away power. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because you're left-handed, or maybe it's because of the CrossFit. But if a ball gets popped up to you, it seems like you have some extra whipping power on the ball.
Definitely.
Like I have one way to hit the ball a little harder, but I'm kind of wondering what you do. What's your strategy for putting so much speed on the ball when you're putting away?
Yeah, so it's actually, I think I hit the ball slightly differently than most, and that's where I get that extra power from. And you mentioned it. It's a whipping motion essentially, where I'm not hitting a conventional tennis shot. It's more like a new pickleball shot in that it's like a whipping motion, and I hit the ball dead flat, and that allows me. It's several advantages. First of all, the whipping motion creates more power, but then the angle of the shot is better because it usually bounces deep in the court, and since the angle is so low, when it bounces, it doesn't go up very high. It kind of stays very low. So there's essentially many advantages to doing that shot. But obviously, you can't always hit that shot. It has to be at a certain height above the net to hit it. But that one is usually where I could put the most power. But then obviously, if it's not in the best position, then I might hit like a regular forehand topspin shot or an overhead, just like a conventional tennis overhead, which may or may not have the exact that amount of power.
Right. So how much so for me, if I like want to whip it, I've just noticed, and I've only picked this up recently with my serve, with drives, and then with putaways, like I'm saying, if I'm incorporating more wrist now, I don't suggest this for any beginners, but I'm doing actually less backswing, but more wrist, and it feels like the ball is definitely going faster. I'm putting it away harder. Would you say you're using more wrist, or what are you doing on your end?
On the shot that where I have the whip, there's no wrist there. It's my arm. It's like it's the arm that's really doing the hips and the arm. So it's like the hips and the arms. It's like that. Yeah. So that's exactly. That's how I'm getting speed. If I add a wrist, then that's for spin. So I will regulate the amount of wrist I put in a shot if I'm trying to add or decrease the amount of spin.
Okay.
And then that is a valid play, is to actually take off some power, put a tons of spin just so it bounces funny, and then they hit the ball slightly, and then they pop it up or they miss it entirely. That is a valid strategy as well.
Something to mention just based off of this motion is it's a lag. It's referred to as a lag, right? Which you know about, but I just know that from tennis in my tennis years. But it's a lag, and creating that lag. So it's like your elbow's going forward. I don't even know how to describe this. Maybe you can describe it better, but your elbow's going forward, and then your hand is going to be behind your elbow, and then your elbow just kind of snaps your hand forward. If that kind of makes sense. Could you describe it better as a pro? Okay.
Probably not.
Good?
Probably not. But it starts from the hips. Yeah, I guess I'd turn the hips first, and then the hips like jerk one way, pull the arm really fast, and then the wrist follows. So yeah, you're right. It's like the wrist is lagging behind everything, but it's getting all the power from all the rest of the movement, I guess.
Yeah, and I like my strong suit's my drive. My drive's better than my drop, right? And whenever I get a high ball, I can put that ball away super easily. And I know this is kind of a slightly different subject, but I think that's why I like this control paddle so much more, is because I want more control, and I feel like if I get a high ball, I can put it away anyway, just because I have that lag down, right? You're using the 002, which is... Say that again.
I was going to say that's a great kind of observation. If you're getting a paddle that's improving your control game, but then you're not sacrificing your put away power, and that's a great decision for you to make, and a great paddle for you to use.
So just to talk about the Lux one more time, I'll just insert it one more time. I'm a Selkirk guy too. Okay. But do you think that you will change just because you already have that power aspect in your game? Because I know the 002 is like straight power, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not impossible. I will say, usually when I'm comfortable with a paddle, and I still feel like I'm improving with the 002, so I don't feel like, unless the paddle's breaking the game in some way to where everybody has a huge advantage, it's probably not my first kind of inclination to, I'm going to change paddles. But I'll give it a shot. And then if I do think it has more potential than the 002 and it could be in a better way, then I'm sure I'll switch. Cool. But I'm usually not the first one to jump on a new paddle.
Well, I think we covered that really well, that subject.
All right, Stefan. Yeah. Last thing here, if you don't mind, kind of a pickleball, we'll call this a celebrity quiz. Okay. So I'm going to give you scenarios of non-pickleball players playing each other, and I want you to tell us who you think will win and why you think that person would win. Yep. That work? So there's 5 different matchups here. Okay, we'll go through the first one. Taylor Swift versus Kim Kardashian. Who's winning in pickleball singles?
Taylor Swift. Maybe more agile.
Yeah, I think so too. I think everything that Kim has is fake on her, so how's she going to be able to do anything? I don't know.
We gotta be quick.
All right. This one I kind of had to think about last night, but maybe it's an easy answer for you. But Serena Williams and Roger Federer, who's winning a singles match there? Pickleball.
It's Roger. Yeah, Roger. He'll get her at the kitchen and then she'll be lost. He'll finesse her.
All right. Yeah, I have a slight edge for Roger also. All right, number 3, Joe Rogan versus Justin Bieber.
Joe Rogan. Just I feel like he's more athletic. He'll be more scrappy.
You think? I just wonder if Bieber, like, I think we sometimes downplay like what it takes to sing and dance at the same time. I bet his cardio game is pretty strong.
Have you seen him play basketball?
You know? But
have you seen him play basketball?
Actually, yeah, he's pretty good, right?
I mean, from a basketball standpoint, like me that plays recreational basketball, like he's better than I am, and I feel like I'm decently athletic. But I felt like he was pretty good. Yeah. But Joe Rogan at the same time, I have no idea his athleticism, but I feel like Joe would win too.
Well, I feel like if somebody has conditioning, it's probably Joe Rogan with his MMA and all that. But
nice.
Yeah, I guess I assume I never saw like Justin Bieber with like racket sports background or anything like that. So
yeah, I'm
like Joe Rogan, but
yeah, I mean, yeah,
I could be wrong.
So this next one, I think you've probably heard. I'm sure you have. Bryan brothers are going to take a stab at pickleball. Yep. I have not seen a video of them playing or anything like that. But if we put up the Bryan brothers right now against Anna Bright and Hurricane Tyra Black, who's winning that match?
I mean, if they haven't been playing pickleball at all, I think Tyra and who else? Anna Bright. I think they would win. Yeah, if they haven't been playing at all. Now, if they have been playing and with like quality players like Sam Querrey, and then I think maybe they could definitely pull a win.
Interesting. I give them a slight edge too, but I could be wrong. I mean, it's possible that they have been playing here and there in between, but it'll be interesting to see. I think they could be, if they put all their focus in it, they could be some crazy good pickleball players.
Everybody's saying, and I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer, but still has to be proven.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, last one. I wanted to throw a little French aspect into this. Okay. All right, Mbappe versus Messi, singles pickleball.
Probably.
Am I saying his name right? Mbappe? Yep. I don't know.
Mbappe.
Yeah, I think so too. He seems like he's taller. I should not be more athletic. Messi's like the most athletic person in the world, but it seems like as far as pickleball goes, Mbappe might have the edge there. But what's your reasoning behind it?
I mean, the reasoning behind that one, like the guy, it seems like a good guy, so I'm on team Mbappe.
Good reason.
No other stats to back that one up.
All right, before we go, really appreciate your time. Any sponsors that you want to mention, and what's coming up for you in the next couple of weeks? I know MLP is coming up for sure.
I guess as far as sponsors, Selkirk, gotta give them a shout out. They've been great with me, so I'm super thankful to have them and use their equipment. And then up next is APP Houston, right before MLP Atlanta, and then Nationals right after that.
Sweet.
Okay, so APP Houston is 1 week before MLP Atlanta. And those are fairly close to each other. So we're excited to keep watching you progress. Who are you playing?
So I'm just doing men's with Brendan Long in that one.
Nice. Well, we're rooting for you. I'm hoping you can make Rob eat his words. I'm going to start a beef between you guys, even though there isn't one.
All right.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you.